Good evening and welcome to News at 6 on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Now, Pakistan has detained 12 JEM terrorists linked to Pathankot attack. Several of their officers have been reportedly sealed. Well, that is the big story that we'd be tracking this hour. Also, a new crop insurance plans for farmers has been approved. So how will it benefit the farmers of our country? Well, we'll get you all the details. First up, the headlines. Pakistan arrests several members of Jaish-e-Mohammed based on leads provided by India. Pak establishment also sealing officers of the terror outfit. General Dalbir Singh Suhag says army ready to take up any challenge. Blames Pak army for derailing peace process in the past. Big relief for farmers. Union cabinet gives nod to implementing crop insurance scheme. Insurance coverage to go up to 50% of total crop area from the current 23%. US President Barack Obama gives his 7th and last State of the Union address, strikes optimistic note as he highlights his government's accomplishments. And Sania Mirza and Martina Hingis continue their winning run, equal record for longest women's doubles winning streak. Well, the day's top story. Acting on leads provided by India, Pakistan today arrested several members of terror outfit Jaish-e-Mohammed, suspected to be behind the Pathankot air base attack. The Pakistani Prime Minister's office said that the officers of the organization were also being traced and sealed. The PMO also said that a special investigation team will now be sent to Pathankot for further probe, adding that considerable progress has been made in the investigations. The arrests were reviewed at a high-level meeting chaired by Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif to discuss the country's security situation. On Tuesday, Home Minister Rajnath Singh had said that Pakistan has promised effective action and there was no reason to distrust them. However, the fate of the Foreign Secretary level talks still hangs in balance with just 2 days to go. India has strongly suggested that without action against those responsible for the attacks, it will not go ahead with the talks. And Army Chief General Dalbir Singh Suhag today put out a strong statement saying that the Indian Army was ready to take up any challenge. Now, his remark comes just a day after Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar said that those who wreak terror havoc in India will be paid back in the same coin. General Suhag also dismissed reports that there was a lack of coordination among the teams during the Pathankot attack.
I would like to assure the nation that your army is highly motivated, singularly focused, fully prepared and ready to respond to any threats or challenges to our national security.
Close on the heels of Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar's remark on the Pathankot attack, warning of a payback in the same coin, Army Chief General Dalbir Singh said on Wednesday that Army was ready to take up any challenge. Even though he chose not to comment directly on Parrikar's remark, he blamed the Pakistani army for having derailed the peace process a number of times in the past.
या पाकिस्तान आर्मी का रोल है, उसके आप हर रोज़ पढ़ भी रहे हैं पेपर्स के अंदर और न्यूज़ के अंदर आ भी रहा है, टीवी के अंदर. हमने जो एविडेंस हमें मिले हैं वो एविडेंस दे दिए हैं. डिटेल्स ऑफ एविडेंस क्या क्या दिए हैं वो तो NIA और सिक्योरिटी एजेंसी का काम है, वो उन्होंने किया है, उसका डिटेल में बात नहीं करेंगे. लेकिन डेफिनेटली हमारे पास मैंने खुद देखा है वहाँ पर मार्किंग्स जो हैं मेडिसिन के ऊपर मार्किंग्स पाकिस्तान की हैं. सिमिलरली बाकी कुछ इक्विपमेंट्स हैं उनके ऊपर मार्किंग्स हैं. तो उनसे साफ जाहिर होता है कि वो आए तो वहाँ से हैं. जहाँ तक इन्वॉल्वमेंट है वो अभी ये एविडेंस दिए हैं और उसके ऊपर आई थिंक जांच जारी है.
The army chief's remarks come in the backdrop of reports that Pakistani establishment was not on board with their Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif when it came to talks with India. On Pathankot attack, General Suhag said there was no lack of coordination.
I want to inform that is not 2 columns, there were 8 columns of the army, and each column had almost 70 people. And also, in addition, the para special forces team was also there. Therefore, that report I just want to clarify. The NSG had initially just 1 team, but army had 8 teams. And on ground, it was the army brigade commander who was controlling the army columns.
The army chief said this while addressing his annual press conference ahead of Army Day celebrations. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And in other news, the union government has declared the new crop insurance scheme, the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. The scheme will have a premium as low as 2% for Kharif crops and 1.5% for Rabi crops. Take a look.
आज की कैबिनेट ने यह फैसला किया है कि एक नई फसल बीमा योजना लागू की जाएगी जिसे प्रधानमंत्री फसल बीमा योजना कहा जाएगा.
Announcing the decision made at Wednesday's cabinet meeting, the Home Minister termed the new crop insurance scheme as a shield to protect farmers from weather changes. The new scheme aims to increase the insurance coverage to 50% of the total crop area of 194.40 million hectare from the existing level of 23%. The centre will incur an expenditure of around 9,000 crore rupees.
खरीफ में 2% और रबी में 1.5%, और पहले 15% तक था. यानी पहले ज्यादा लगाओ और कम पाओ, और अब कम लगाओ और ज्यादा पाओ. तो 11% के कैपिंग के कारण नुकसान की पूरी भरपाई नहीं होती थी. उसको इस नई बीमा योजना के अंतर्गत उस कैपिंग को हटा दिया गया है.
The cabinet also gave its approval to the constitution of an empowered committee of secretaries to process the recommendations of the 7th Central Pay Commission. Vishal Dahiya, Rajya Sabha TV, Delhi.
Well, my colleague Vishal Daya is now joining us live from the newsroom for more on this story. Vishal, now after 2 consecutive drought years now, the centre clearing a crop insurance scheme. Tell us more about the scheme and what are the details that you can give us?
Well, this is a much-awaited decision which has been taken by the cabinet today, Aishwarya, because if you look at not only the previous 2 years in which several parts of the country has seen severe drought conditions, but also if you look at the overall percentage of coverage of the area which is under agriculture, that is the crop area which is covered under insurance scheme, then that's something which is not a very inspiring figure. It's just 23% as of now, and given the fact that the first insurance scheme which was brought in for crops and farmers was way back in '99. So effectively, one major aim of this scheme is to ensure that at least 50% of the crop area is brought under the insurance coverage within the next 3 years. Now, this will be done in several steps. For the first year, the target is 30%. For the second year, the target is 40%. And the 50% target will be achieved in the third year. Definitely the premium part, which obviously is going to be very minimal for the farmers, and the rest will be paid by the government. That part, the expenditure part, will increase for the government from 3,000 crore to 9,000 crore at the end of those 3 years. But the salient features of this scheme are a few which have been mentioned in the story. That's a 2% and a 1.5% premium only for Kharif and Rabi crops. Now, that is very significant because by bringing down the insurance premium, what the government is trying to do out here is that they are trying to attract more farmers to try and subscribe to this insurance scheme. Also very interesting out here is that in the previous scheme, there was a cap of 11%. That is the capping on the kind of the compensation which can be given to the farmer. But in this particular scheme, all those caps have been removed now. Now there are going to be no caps. The farmers will get complete compensation. One very significant part out here also is that first, at first-hand information, 25% of the compensation amount will be released directly into the farmer's account, and the rest of it would be released after the several reports of how much the damage has been and all that has been submitted by the district authorities. One very important point, which is again had been incorporated in this scheme, is the very fact that this scheme will have a lot more, dependence on technology, new technologies which will be used by the district level authorities to assess the damage as soon as possible, maybe in a real time lapse, and then process the information, pass it on to the central government, and then ensure that the farmers who are affected do get the benefit. And this benefit is only not only limited to the standing crops, but also to the seed sowing, as well as post-harvest losses have also been covered under this scheme. So all in all, this seems to be a bonanza scheme for the farmers as
Definitely.
of now.
Vishal, as you were pointing out, that this scheme is actually going to replace two earlier schemes. So in what ways is it going to be better than the previous scheme, and which is the most important salient feature of this scheme?
Well, as I said, Aishwarya, there were schemes which were launched in, first one to come around was in 99, the second one was somewhere around 2005, and the differences which even the ministers pointed out in that particular press conference just a short while ago mainly point out to one, removing the cap of 11%, two, ensuring that the premiums are brought down to a very minimal level. That's 2% for the Kharif crops and 1.5% for the Rabi crops. And these all steps have been taken to try and attract farmers to subscribe to these schemes to ensure that the government achieves its aim of bringing about at least 50% of the crop area under the crop insurance scheme within the next 3 years.
All right, Vishal, thank you so much for those details. Yeah, it's a very important scheme there, because significant, especially because the country is facing drought for the second straight year due to poor monsoon. All right, let's move on in the bulletin now. Amid a flip-flop over a government formation in Jammu and Kashmir, the BJP on Wednesday maintained that the centre was committed to the state and will continue to work for its development. Now, this came after the PDP tried to end the uncertainty, saying that party chief Mehbooba Mufti would be the next chief minister of the state. The party also says that the tie-up with the BJP was intact and would continue on the basis of the agenda of alliance that was reached between the two parties last year. Now, even as the PDP refuses to give a timeline for the formation of the new government.
देखिए, ऐसा है कि काल तो उनको लेना है, क्योंकि उनके लीडर मुफ्ती साहब आज बीच में नहीं हैं, तो डेफिनेटली आगे कैसे चलना है तो काल तो पीडीपी को लेना है। तो उसी का जब भी हमें कम्युनिकेट करेंगे उसके बाद आगे बात जो भी होगा और पॉजिटिव होगा, मुझे लगता है ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है।
And for more nationwide stories, let's take a look at the segment Nationwide. The Congress today sent its Mumbai unit chief Sanjay Nirupam a show-cause notice over an article published in the magazine Congress Darshan. The party had last month distanced itself from its mouthpiece, as some articles in it criticized Jawaharlal Nehru's Kashmir policy and alleged that Sonia Gandhi's father was a fascist soldier. The show-cause notice gives him 7 days to respond to it. Many parts of Kashmir were engulfed in a thick layer of fog this morning, affecting visibility as motorists negotiated the roads with caution. Leh was the coldest place in Jammu and Kashmir. There is a possibility of isolated rainfall also in the plains of the valley, while the higher reaches may also receive light snowfall. The weather is expected to remain mainly dry for the next 4 days, starting tomorrow. An Indian was today allegedly shot dead by unidentified men near a school in Virginia in the United States. The victim belonged to Gujarat's Anand district. The family members have sought strict action from the Indian government to prevent such incidents from happening in the future. Lieutenant General J.F.R. Jacob, who negotiated the surrender of Pakistani troops in Dhaka following the Bangladesh Liberation War in 1971, passed away today. The 92-year-old breathed his last this morning after a prolonged illness. Jacob is best known for his role in India's victory in the Indo-Pakistan War of 1971 and also the liberation of Bangladesh. He also served as the governor of Goa and Punjab. And in News at 6, we'll take a very short break. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned.
The Pathankot shadow on India-Pak ties. India seeks decisive action from Pakistan. A prerequisite to resuming dialogue. What exactly is decisive action? Watch The Big Picture at 6:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. Now, Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari today declared Kerala as the first state in the country to attain total primary education. Describing the achievement as historic, the Vice President said that Kerala has set a model for the rest of the country to follow. Ansari called it another feather to the state's educational cap and said that state was marking the successful culmination of Atulyam, a program which is aimed at ensuring total primary education that is equivalent to Standard 4 of formal education. Earlier, the Vice President visited the Chivagiri Mutt, a revered spiritual centre in Varkala in Kerala. After paying respects at the Mahasamadhi Mandapam, the renovated stairway was open to public. The Vice President also launched the centenary celebrations of 2 books written and authored by Mutt Guru. And on to the big international story. While putting aside the crisis with Iran, US President Barack Obama delivered his final State of the Union address on Tuesday. He struck an optimistic note as he highlighted his government's accomplishments, especially on new policies on the health front. He also urged that the US has the strongest and most durable economy in the whole world. Here is more.
The President of the United States.
Our unique strengths as a nation, our optimism and work ethic, our spirit of discovery, these things give us everything we need to ensure prosperity and security for generations to come. In fact, it's in that spirit that we have made progress these past 7 years.
The US President Barack Obama touting legacy in his last State of Union address. Setting an optimistic tone for 2016, Obama criticized the negative tone of the ongoing presidential race. He knocked off the Republican comments that the US was declining economically. The speech to the Congress also highlighted his accomplishments, especially on health reforms and economic policies.
The United States of America, right now, has the strongest, most durable economy in the world. We're in the middle of the longest streak of private sector job creation in history.
Obama also focused on immigration policies, the need to tackle income inequality and maintain national security despite conflicts in the international front. He urged the Congress to support for a transition to clean energy. With less than a year left for his presidency to end, Obama also laid out his plan of action for 2016 to close the Guantanamo Bay prison, achieve meaningful criminal justice reform, addressing rising tide of prescription drug abuse, authorize the use of military force against Islamic State, and to lift the embargo on Cuba.
Both Al-Qaeda and now ISIL pose a direct threat to our people because in today's world, even a handful of terrorists who place no value on human life, including their own, can do a lot of damage. We have to take them out.
However, his speech drew criticism from the Republican presidential candidates. Republican frontrunner Donald Trump tweeted that Obama's speech was non-substantive.
Our brand of democracy is hard.
Obama's 7th and last State of Union address was the microcosm of his entire presidency. Analysts said his address will be remembered not for his policy prescriptions, but for its upbeat assessment of how much better America is in the present times.
God bless the United States of America.
Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
News coming in from Afghanistan, where 7 people are reported to have been killed in a suicide bomb attack and subsequent gunfire outside the Pakistani consulate in the city of Jalalabad. Now, the Islamic State has claimed responsibility for the attack. The attack took place not far away from the Indian consulate. Afghan security forces swiftly responded to the attack and engaged with the gunmen barricaded in a house near the Pakistan consulate. 2 gunmen were also killed in the ensuing gun battle that lasted nearly 4 hours. The attack comes days after the 4-country talks in Islamabad aimed at reviving Taliban peace negotiations. Now, Indian interests have also been targeted twice this month. An attack on the Indian consulate in Mazar-e-Sharif, while a small bomb also exploded near the Indian consulate in Jalalabad last Tuesday.
هغه موږ ناس په 2 نفر په موټرسایکل باندې راغلل د یو کوس او د یو موټرسایکل ته ناستو نو سترګې اړولې نو په د پولیسو باندې برید خخ کړ پولیسو باندې ایروپور مې کړی و درشي ار څه ولچک مو سره جمن د دوی 3 نفر هم ځان مرګي و ام وسلوال و دا درې سره لمنځه تللی دي او زموږ امنیتي ځواکونه و نفر شهیدان شوي دي او زموږ و نفر زخمیان دي په دې کې 3 نفر ملکی نفر هم زخمیان شوي دي
पाकिस्तान के जो एसेट्स होते हैं या काउंसलेट उनके ऊपर अटैक अब पहले नहीं होते थे। ये नई चीज़ एक उभर के सामने आ रही है और ये बहुत इसके मतलब ये है कि पाकिस्तान में के खिलाफ जो ग्रुप हैं वो काफ़ी सक्रिय होते चले जा रहे हैं और उसको रोकने में वो असमर्थ है। वहाँ की सेना भी ये एक मैं समझता हूँ बहुत ही इम्पॉर्टेंट डेवलपमेंट है।
And news coming in from Turkey, where German Interior Minister Thomas de Maizière is in Istanbul for a brief visit following Tuesday's suicide bombing that killed 10 people. Now, 9 of them Germans. A further 15 were injured. Maizière held talks with Turkish leaders before visiting his wounded countrymen in the hospital during the visit. After the meeting with the Turkish officials, the German Interior Minister said that there were no indications that the Germans had been deliberately targeted in Tuesday's suicide bomb attack. 9 Germans were reported to be seriously injured in that attack. 1 person has been detained as part of the investigation into the blast, which the Turkish authorities have said was carried out by a member of Islamic State who had recently travelled from Syria. More international news now in Global Buzz. 10 sailors aboard 2 US Navy boats were seized by Iran on 12th of January. However, Tehran later released them. While both sides appeared eager not to let the incident escalate further, it comes at a delicate time for the US-Iranian relations. The release come after the Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Zarif assured US Secretary of State John Kerry that the US sailors would be allowed to continue their journey promptly. A suspected suicide bomb blast today killed at least 14 people close to a polio eradication center in Pakistan. At least 20 others were injured after the explosion ripped through a police van. The police chief of Pakistan's Balochistan province said that police had gathered evidence from the scene and investigations have begun. EU today will raise the pressure on Warsaw by debating how to respond to controversial new laws. 3 laws have given the Polish government more control over the media and packed the Supreme Court with loyalists. The Commission could call for a greater scrutiny of Polish laws on the media and also constitutional tribunal. They could also initiate previously unused procedures that could eventually see the country stripped of voting rights in the EU. Let's now get you all the sporting action in Sports Beat. Indian tennis ace Sania Mirza and her Swiss partner Martina Hingis equalled the record for the longest women's doubles winning streak by advancing to the semi-final of the Sydney International. Top seeds defeated China's Chen Liang and Shuai Peng 6-2, 6-3 to extend their winning streak to 28 matches. They now need to win 1 more game to beat the record set by Puerto Rican Gigi Fernandez and Belarus's Natasha Zvarineva in 1994. FIFA today fired its General Secretary Jerome Valcke for his alleged role in corruption involving World Cup ticket sales. FIFA's Ethics Committee had announced opening a formal proceedings against Valcke last week. Now, Valcke has denied any wrongdoing. Meanwhile, Guatemala police have arrested former head of the country's football federation in connection with a corruption probe into the sports world governing body FIFA. Brian Jimenez had been on the run since last month after US issued an arrest warrant for 16 Latin American football officials. Paul Dumet scored a last-minute equaliser as Newcastle United secure a pulsating 3-3 home draw against Manchester United. United led the game 2-0, but Newcastle equalised in the second half. Wayne Rooney's second goal seemed to have given United the win, but Dumet's late goal saw United slip to the 6th place. Well, that's all in this edition of news, but news and updates continue on your channel. Keep watching Rajya Sabha TV.